So I've been ranking local businesses on Google Maps since 2016, and I built a 7-figure agency just doing that. Now, 2025 is completely different from how we used to rank local businesses. Google has essentially rewritten the rules, and 90% of agencies, frankly, haven't noticed yet. So in this video, I'm going to show you why those old ranking methods don't work anymore, and the specific algorithm changes that a lot of people are ignoring. I'm also going to show you the exact new system that I'm using at my agency to hit the top 3 in just weeks, not months, with AI tools doing most of the work. So let me talk about that old way from back in 2017 that really went until 2023 with no real changes. First, we could get a GMB, not Google Business Profile, Google My Business back then, at any address we wanted. Google would just mail us a postcard. I look back on those days and wish it was still that easy. Of course, at the time, it felt like a pain, but now it is so much harder to get a GBP than just to wait for a postcard. Anyway, once you got that postcard, you'd open up your GMB, you'd fill in categories and services, whatever you want to put in there. You'd build a bunch of spammy citations. You'd struggle to get them indexed. You'd hire somebody from overseas to type into little white boxes until their fingers were bleeding. None of this would get indexed. It was all super spammy, but you would build them anyway. You'd get a couple of reviews. Maybe you'd throw schema on there, write a couple of blog posts, and that usually would be enough. Now that worked because back then we had less competition. We had simpler signals. Google's algorithm wasn't as advanced as it is today, so these check the boxes type local SEO could work, but it fails now. And there's a couple of reasons for it. First, most people are doing these basics. Also, Google is getting better and better at spotting real authority versus these box checking activity. On top of that, the big shift that happened for 2023 was ChatGPT rolled out in November of 22. When ChatGPT rolled out, that made content essentially free. We used to be able to rank with a handful of silly blog posts, but now that content's free, that just doesn't work anymore. Your competitors can crank out thousands of pages of content, and in fact, a lot of them probably did back in 2023. It was very common to hook OpenAI's API into WordPress and publish thousands of pages of content, and that worked briefly until Google started updating their algorithm. Since early 23, Google has rolled out a major core algorithm update every few months, even as recently as August of 2025. And all of these updates, Google is looking for better trust signals rather than just content because it knows content is now free. A couple of other things like that, we know that Google is paying a lot more attention to entities, to brands. A higher brand search volume, more brand mentions is correlated with a higher rank position, and not brand mentions at the 2017 spammy directories that you can't get indexed, but brand mentions in real places, chambers of commerce, Reddit, Facebook groups. The more you brand mentions and brand searches, the higher you're likely to rank. Now, the good news is because of AI, it's actually easier to rank today than it was back in 2017, as long as we have the right roadmap. So let me give you mine. The new way that my agency is ranking clients. It's a 3-step process. We start with something called lazy ranking. I know, I don't love the name either, but that's what we're going to stick with. Lazy ranking takes a few hours. We do it for every single client we land. And for 70 or 80% of them, it's enough. We don't need to do anything else. I'm going to break down exactly what that is next. But once we finish lazy ranking, then we're going to wait a couple of weeks and look at the local rank map. Depending on what the local rank map says, we're either going to be done or we're going to roll into the Core 30 process. The Core 30 process is a fancy name that I came up with that basically just means injecting a massive amount of topical and geographic relevance into the GBP. So let me talk about lazy ranking. There are 3 steps to lazy ranking, and again, this only takes a couple of hours. The first thing we're going to do is fully dial in the Google Business Profile. The most important thing on the Google Business Profile is going to be to make sure we have the correct primary category, we have the correct secondary categories, and we have 20 to 30 services organized by which category they are most semantically relevant to. Once we do that, we're also just going to walk through the entire GBP and make sure every single box is filled out. We're not going to skip a single box, not even the box that asks whether you have an ADA compliant restroom. We have a questionnaire that we send to business owners to make sure we get all the information necessary to fill out every single box on the GBP. On top of that, we're going to make sure the GBP stays active. We're going to set up a weekly GBP post. We're going to set up a weekly photo drip. Those photos will be geotagged. Most of the time, they're going to be AI generated. If the client has photos they can send us, excellent, we use them. A lot of clients don't. So we're going to use AI generated photos. It's important to note, if you are using AI generated photos, you want AI to generate the photo, then you want to screen cap that photo to make sure the metadata that is AI generated doesn't trail along and end up on your GBP. So screen cap the photo, add geo tags, upload it to the GBP, 1 per week, do the GBP post, 1 per week, and make sure you apply to every single review. That gets the GBP taken care of. The second step of lazy ranking is to make sure the homepage, the GBP landing page, is aligned with the GBP. I see a lot of local business websites, and most of them don't have the GBP landing page aligned with their GBP at all. Okay, we want to make sure that the primary category and city name is in the title tag and is in the H1 tag. We want to make sure that the first paragraph, the first bit of text on the page below the H1 tag talks about why they're the best, why the user should contact them immediately. We're focusing on goal completion. We want to make sure that the name, address, and phone number is on the GBP landing page and matches the GBP. So often I see a phone number different from the GBP on the GBP landing page. Not acceptable, they need to be the same. We also need to make sure that we have a Google Business Profile embed on the homepage. This is super simple to do. If you search for it, you can find a Google support article that will show you exactly how to generate the embed code and drop it on your homepage. We're also going to put local business schema that again exactly matches the Google Business Profile. All of this should take 45 minutes or so to do. The H2 tags, the subheadings on the GBP landing page, we're going to make them secondary categories and a handful of core services. By core services, I mean the services that are most important to the client. For a plumber, that's usually water heater replacement and main drain replacement. These are the most valuable services a plumber does. They really want to rank for them. We're going to make sure they're mentioned on the GBP landing page. And everything that we just talked about, the GBP landing page, should take maybe 45 minutes and result in the GBP landing page being much more consistent with the Google Business Profile itself. So now we have the Google Business Profile and we have landing page, the two most important things for local SEO. The third thing we're going to look at is building high trust authority citations. This is not the spammy citations from 2017. These are listings that typically require verification. This is Bing for Business, it's Apple Maps, it's the navigation systems, it's Cortana, it's Alexa, things like that that are high trust verification required listing. And don't forget Bing for Business. I know I said this already, but remember, ChatGPT uses Bing's index, not Google's. If you don't have a Bing for Business listing, ChatGPT is highly unlikely to ever recommend your business when somebody asks. Let me show you very quickly how we double check the GBP categories and make sure they're accurate. All right, so here I am looking at HVAC contractor New Orleans, and the 3 ranking businesses are all HVAC contractors. So I will just go quickly to hit category finder for one of them, and we'll click over to that page. Now, what this tool does, this is called GMB Everywhere, and this is going to help us fine tune what categories and services we want. So for the category HVAC contractor, we can see there are 135,000 GBPs on the internet with this primary category. And we can see these other categories below it and the numbers there for primary categories. You can see we also have air conditioning repair service with 135,000. So one thing to keep in mind when choosing your primary category is you want to choose a primary category that is closely aligned with what your ideal customer is likely going to search for. How many people do you know go onto Google and search for HVAC contractor? My answer is not very many at all. So for every HVAC contractor we have as a client, we're going to use air conditioning repair service as the primary category. This is much more common for people to type into Google. If their air conditioner isn't working, it's getting hot in their house, they type in air conditioning repair. They don't type in air conditioning replacement or HVAC contractor. Air conditioning repair is a much more common search term, so this should be the primary category. Yes, I'm saying these 3 businesses have done it wrong. No problem, we can do better. Air conditioning repair service should be your primary category. Now, don't change the primary category if they're ranking well, okay? Only change the primary category if they're not ranking very well at all. Now, once we choose the primary category, we're then, of course, going to choose secondary categories. In this case, we'll put HVAC contractor, air conditioning repair shop, air conditioning system supplier, maybe heating contractor. There are a lot of highly relevant secondary categories that we can use that GMB Everywhere is finding for us that competitors are using. We're also going to hit view more, and then we can have a list of relevant services. These services, we're going to make sure that we organize them into the category they're most relevant to, put all of these services, all of these categories on the GBP. That's the most important part of our first step, the GBP of the lazy ranking method. All right, so once we get the 3 steps of the lazy ranking method done, we're on to the second step of our overall 2025 roadmap, which is to watch the local rank map. I know that might not be super exciting that our second step is to watch local rank map, but let me show you exactly what we're looking for and what we're watching for. So here I just pulled up some local rank maps for a random plumber in Fort Wayne, Indiana, just to give you an idea of what we're looking for at this decision point. If we pull up a local rank map after we've done the lazy ranking method and we see something that looks like this, we're probably close to done. There are some 4s and 5s on the outskirts here that we could potentially turn into top 3. So to do that, we're going to produce geographical content for these locations and put them on the client website. So when I say geographical content, I'm going to zoom in for some of these dots and look for a geographical point of reference, a landmark. So here we have Huntertown. So I might publish an article for Plumber Huntertown near Fort Wayne, right? And I'm just going to look around for other geographical references. I might use Herman Hill Farm as one. I might use the intersection Show-Off Road and Hand Road as one. Whatever we see that's nearby and called out on Google Maps, that is potential for a geographic relevance. Here's another one, maybe Allen. If we come down, maybe the Carroll Charger Stadium. So we might do an article, Plumber Carroll Charger Stadium, Fort Wayne. Now, I know that in August, Google updated its algorithm to penalize the use of city pages, and that is not what this is. We are publishing geographical relevance pages, not different cities around the GBP address. We've been doing this method for years, and we saw no penalties in the August update. We're still using this today. It works great. So that's what we would do if we saw something like this. Solid rank map. We don't need a lot of help to make it even better. Now, instead, if we did the lazy ranking method and we saw something like this, we know that we have to go on to the third step of our roadmap, which is the core 30. Now, when we produce this geographical based content on each one of these articles, we're going to have a short intro. We're going to talk about the services that we offer near that geographical landmark. We're going to talk about that landmark. We're going to include driving directions from that location to the GBP address. We're going to make sure that we have the name, address, and phone number for the GBP on there, and we're going to put in place internal links. The internal links that we're going to put in place, if we follow a guideline like this, which is how we structure local business websites, we're talking about these location pages. We're going to link them back to whatever category or service we searched for. So in this case, it was Plumber Fort Wayne. So what we're going to do is link location page 1 back to the Plumber Fort Wayne, which was the homepage, the GBP landing page. Now, if instead we wait a couple of weeks and we don't see something like this, but we see something that looks like this, we know that we don't want to jump straight into building geographical relevance. We can look at this map and know that the issue is we don't have enough topical relevance. Our topical relevance is too thin. Google does not trust that this business does this service. It knows that this business does plumbing. It just doesn't know for sure that it does plumbing in these locations. So that's what our geographical relevance is designed to solve. We're going to tell Google that we do plumbing in these 4s and 5s to turn them into 3s. But something like this, Google doesn't trust that we do plumbing at all. So first, topical relevance. The way we build topical relevance for a website like this is to build a unique URL, a unique article for every category and every service on the GBP. Every single one of those is going to have the target keyword of the category or service name plus city name. So we would use HVAC contractor Fort Wayne, air conditioning repair services Fort Wayne, air duct cleaning Fort Wayne, and we would build articles about each one of those. On the homepage, the primary category and city name is the target keyword. We're also using the primary category and city name in the H1, just like we talked about for lazy ranking. Then our subheadings, and we talked about this for lazy ranking, are going to be our secondary categories and a couple of our core services. What we're going to do is add an internal link from those little blurbs over to a dedicated page about the secondary categories. Each secondary category page will be structured very similar to the GBP landing page. The H1 and title tag will both include the secondary category city name, and we're going to have subheadings, H2s, for each one of the services and link from those little blurb down to a detailed service page. We don't need every single one. If you have a category with 50 services, we don't want to link to every single one of them. We want to keep the length of these articles to be reasonable, 1,500, 2,000, maybe 2,500 words. So only use the most relevant services for each category if you have more than that. The URL structure doesn't really matter. It's a very common question I get. How should I structure the URLs? Google doesn't care. Keep them flat if you can, minimize the folder use, but beyond that, make sure you use the target keyword in the URL. Remember that Google is going to build its map of your website, the hierarchy of your website. Google builds that by following the internal links, not by looking at your URL structure. You'll eventually end up with about 30 pages. That's one page for every category and one page for every service. If you have 3 or 4 categories, categories, 20 or 30 services. That works out to about 30 pages. That's why we call this the core 30. Let me show you a simple sitemap giving you an idea of how this interlinking works. I showed this briefly before when we were talking about the geographic pages, but now let me talk about the rest of this. We have the home page, the GVP landing page, that has GVP primary category city name as the target keyword. That means we're going to include this target keyword in the title tag and in the primary heading, the H1 tag. This is then going to link to each of our secondary categories. GVP category 1 is the first secondary category. The primary category is for the home page. The target keyword for each of these is going to be secondary category city name. Then we have a couple of critical GVP services, as we talked about: water heater replacement, maybe main drain line replacement for a plumber. We're going to have those also in the H2 and linked to their own pages. Now, the category pages will each talk about services that live underneath that category. So here we have service 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't duplicate services. Each service only appears under one category. Now, AI can do 80% of this work for you. We use AI to draft the category and service pages and get AI to use local tone, add FAQs, add the CTAs. We use AI to scaffold out the geographic relevance pages where it talks about the landmarks, the directions, and even places the internal links. We can also get AI to add the necessary internal links we need to map this type of structure to build as much topical relevance to the Google business profile as we possibly can. When we have new clients who join my agency and they're located in a small town, then we pretty much know that the lazy ranking method is going to be good enough. We can check on the 3 businesses who are currently ranked in the top 3 just to get an idea of the competitiveness, but really the only way to know for sure is to complete the lazy ranking method and see what the rank map looks like. It almost always will be better than it was, but is it good enough to say that you're done, or do you need to move into geographical based content, or the third option, do you need to move into the core 30? In any case, whatever the rank map says, that's the next thing that we do. We can get full ranking results if we have enough resources dedicated to the core 30 to turn an entire business website from rank 17 to rank 2. And we do this over and over again by cranking out this type of core 30 content when the lazy ranking method doesn't give what we're after. So that's the new way that we use to rank number 1 on Google Maps in 2025. If you implement everything I showed you in this video, you're going to see results faster than you ever thought possible. But here's the thing. This skill, being able to rank local businesses quickly, is worthless if you can't find clients to pay you for it. That's why I want you to watch this next video where I'm going to show you the exact system that I use to land 5 to 10 local SEO clients every single month.